The void stretched out before them, an abyss darker than the deepest trenches of any ocean. No stars, no dust, no lingering echoes of radiation, just an empty nothingness that seemed to swallow even the hum of their ship's engines. Captain Elias Core stood at the bridge, his gaze locked on the hollow display that flickered erratically, as if struggling to comprehend the sheer emptiness before them. The edge of the galactic map, the place no one dared to go, yet here they were. The crew behind him shifted uneasily, their breaths shallow, their hands clenched around the consoles. They did not need to speak, their unease was as thick as the void itself. Navigator Linda had her fingers poised over the controls, her pulse visible at her temple. As she attempted to chart a course where no coordinates existed, her voice was tight-laced with apprehension. There is nothing to lock onto, no gravitational pull, no mass readings, just absolute zero nothingness. Elias knew that nothingness was a lie. Something was here, something the galactic civilizations refused to acknowledge, something that turned the edge of human space into an invisible wall no one questioned. His father had disappeared here 20 years ago. The ship, the Orphean, trembled as if sensing the whispers beyond the void, the deep pulse of an unseen force that did not welcome their intrusion. Lieutenant Aris Vero, the ship's weapons officer, gritted his teeth, his hand resting near the emergency shield controls. This is insane. If there was anything out there, wouldn't someone have come back? Wouldn't there be some trace? Elias did not answer. Instead, he took a step closer to the viewport. The abyss beyond did not look empty, it looked hungry, waiting, patient. Then a ripple. Not light, not movement, not anything he could define, just a sensation. As if something enormous had shifted in a space that should have been devoid of change. The ship's systems flickered again, warning sirens began to wail, but no message accompanied them, no error logs, nothing that their instruments could quantify. Lynn's voice cracked. There is something here, but it's not a place, not an object. I don't understand. Elias did. This was why no one returned. This was why the map ended. It was not a wall, it was a mouth. The Orphean lurched forward, dragged, without acceleration, without force, yet undeniably moving, pulled into the abyss that no thrusters or gravity wells could explain. Panic erupted on the bridge, but Elias did not move. He had seen this before. In his father's eyes the day before he vanished. Something unseen wrapped around the ship, not metal, not organic, not even energy, but a presence vast and incomprehensible, a shadow that existed without light, a form without dimension. The comms crackled, then a voice filled the space around them, not through speakers, not through any known transmission, but inside their skulls, inside their thoughts, a presence making itself known, not speaking in words, but in understanding. You should not have come. Lynn gasped, pressing her hands to her head. Aris cursed, his eyes wide, his face drained of color. The rest of the crew stumbled backward, some falling to their knees. Elias only closed his eyes and listened. The voice did not threaten. It mourned. You were not meant to see. The ship trembled, the void opened before them, not space, not hyperspace, but something deeper, a wound in reality itself. And then they fell. There was no sensation of falling, no acceleration, no gravity, but a sinking, a drifting into something both vast and confined. Their ship shrank in its presence, their minds felt too small to contain what lay beyond the map. The Orphean ceased to be a physical thing, it became a thought, a memory dissolving yet persisting as though it had always been here and had never existed at all. Lynn sobbed, her voice unraveling into static. Her fingers clutched her temples as if trying to hold her mind together. Aris screamed, a sound of sheer defiance, as if his voice alone could fight back the thing that swallowed them. Elias did not scream. He had expected this. The presence watched them, not with eyes, but with a knowing, a vast and sorrowful awareness, something ancient beyond comprehension. It did not wish to harm, it did not wish to consume, it only wished to be forgotten. But they had seen. You were not meant to see. The words repeated, not spoken, but understood, and with them came knowledge, not given freely, but seeping into their consciousness, inescapable, an ocean of understanding pouring into vessels too small to contain it. This was the edge, because the edge was not a boundary, it was the remnants of something older than galaxies, a place where time broke, where space unraveled, where reality ended, and something else began. The civilizations of the galaxy did not map beyond this point, because beyond this point was the unmaking, the place where all things lost their meaning, where history, memory, identity all dissolved into the nameless. Elias tried to grasp it, but the more he understood, the more he became less himself and more of it. You must go. The thought crashed into them like a tidal wave of force. But there was no going back, not as they were. The Orphean was no longer a ship, the crew no longer bodies, they were thoughts, whispers, memories drifting on the edge of the infinite. Elias felt himself unraveling piece by piece, his past, his name, his purpose fading, becoming weightless, but a single thread remained a tether, his father, a memory solid and untouched, standing apart from the dissolution. He had come here once, he had been swallowed by the same abyss, yet something of him had remained, something still reached out across the void and held Elias in place. The presence hesitated, it had consumed so many, it had erased so much, yet here was something that refused to be forgotten, something that defied unmaking. A choice for the first time in eternity, it hesitated. Elias reached out, grasped the tether that held him to himself, and pulled. Reality snapped. The Orphean reformed, the crew gasped as breath returned, as gravity reasserted itself. As the cold hum of machinery surrounded them once more, the void was still there, but it no longer pulled, no longer consumed. Go. The voice was softer now, not a warning, not a command, but a plea. The Orphean turned, engines burning bright as they fled the edge of the galactic map, back toward the known, back toward the light, but the memory remained. Elias did not know how long they had been gone, how much time had passed, but he knew one thing for certain: the map was wrong, the edge was not a boundary, it was a warning.